Hey guys, it's Bella and welcome back to another episode of Mystery Monday. I'm really excited for today's episode because I think you guys are going to find it really interesting because it's incredibly interesting, incredibly strange and very sad, of course, at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight into it today. Of course, if you like Mystery Mondays, make sure to give this one a thumbs up so I know that you love it and want to see more. And I will also leave a link down below so you can see the rest of my Mystery Mondays. I have a whole playlist of them, so make sure to check that out and let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Brianna Maitland. Brianna was just 17 years old when she disappeared from Montgomery, Vermont on the 19th of March in 2009. Up until October of 2003, she lived on a rural farm with her family. On her 17th birthday, she decided to move out of home, not because there was anything wrong at home, but just because she wanted some independence and she wanted to be closer to her friends and go to the same high school as her friends because they lived about 24 kilometers away from her parents' rural home. But by February of 2004, Brianna ended up having to drop out of high school due to her unstable living conditions. She then moved in with her friend Jillian Stout and joined a high school equivalency program. Now, soon after this time and just 3 weeks before her disappearance, she got into a fight at a party with a girl named Kaylee Lacrosse. The cause of the fight to this day is still unknown, but Kaylee did apparently start the fight and she gave Brianna a broken nose and a concussion. Charges were filed against Kaylee by Brianna's family, but they were dropped 3 weeks after her disappearance. On March 19th of 2004, the day of Brianna's disappearance, she took her GED exam before going shopping with her mother at about midday. Apparently, she told her mother Kelly that she had passed her GED exam and that she was hoping to enroll in college and further her education. While shopping in the last store that they would look at, Brianna became distracted and a little bit startled by something outside, so she left the store for whatever reason. It is still unknown to this day, and met her mother back in the parking lot after she was done ringing up her purchases. Her mother then drove her home to her shared home with Jillian, and she seemed very anxious on the drive and agitated, but her mother decided not to pry, not to ask any questions, and just dropped her off at her apartment and left. But unfortunately, that would be the last time she would ever see her daughter. At around 3:30 p.m. after Brianna got home, she got ready for work and she left a note for Jillian saying that she would be home after work, and then she left for her job at the Black Lantern Inn, which was one of her 2 jobs. She drove there herself in a pale green 1985 Oldsmobile sedan, which was registered to her mother Kelly. Her shift ran overtime and Brianna clocked out at around 11:20 p.m. Her co-workers invited her to stay later to have dinner with them, but she declined, said that she needed to get home and get some rest so that she could go to her shift the next day at her second job. So Brianna left alone and was never seen again. The next day, on the 20th of March, Brianna's car was found abandoned on East Berkshire Road and Route 118, which is the route that she apparently normally took to get home. The car was backed into the old Dutchburn house, which was an old abandoned barn 1 mile outside of Montgomery. So her car was actually backed into the barn, like she had driven into this barn, punctured a hole in the wall. A piece of plywood from the barn had then fallen down, covering the window of the car. The car was also slightly up on the foundation of the house as well. Inside the car was all of Brianna's belongings: her clothing, her makeup, her medicine, her driver's license, 2 uncashed paychecks, and her contact lenses. A woman's fleece jacket was also found near the car, which apparently did not belong to Brianna, as well as a few scattered beer bottles and some scattered change. Initially, when police found the car, they assumed that it was abandoned by a drunk driver, so they didn't call Kelly, Brianna's mother, who it was actually registered to. They instead called a tow truck to pick it up and take it to be impounded at the garage. Brianna actually wasn't reported missing for a few days after this until the 23rd of March. Jillian, her roommate, she'd come home, she had seen the note, but she left before Brianna got home from work because she was going away from the weekend. When she came back on Monday and saw the note was there, there undisturbed and saw that Brianna was not home, she just assumed that she had gone to stay with her parents. It wasn't until the next day on the Tuesday when Jillian hadn't heard from Brianna that she decided to call Brianna's mother, and that is when they learned that she was missing. So Kelly, of course, called around, but no one had seen or heard from her, which is when she decided to file a missing persons report. When police first started their investigations, they actually thought that Brianna was a runaway because there was no signs of struggle at the scene. Police and search dogs searched the Dutchburn house and the areas surrounding it, but they didn't find anything. They didn't find any signs of Brianna, but they did have 4 witnesses come forward with possible sightings. Well, not exactly possible sightings, but like sightings of the Dutchburn area, possible sightings of the crime. The first was a man who drove past the Dutchburn house between 11:30 p.m. and 12 a.m. He says that the headlights may have been on, but he didn't see anyone in or around the car. Another man who drove by from 12 to 12:30 a.m. on the 20th of March said that he saw the car in the house and said that it had its indicator on. Brianna's ex-boyfriend also drove past at around 4 a.m. on his way back from a party on the 20th of March and said that he didn't see anyone in or around the car. And lastly, there were a few passers-by who passed by the house, thought the scene was interesting enough to get out, take a few photos, but they said they didn't see anyone in and around the car. They just saw a necklace, some loose change, and a water bottle on the ground around the car. The car was processed for evidence at the state's crime laboratory on the 30th of March, but it didn't come up with any evidence, and there was nothing pointing to any leads. Soon after this, the police changed their perspective and assumed that foul play had been involved and that Brianna was not just a runaway. In the week following, the Vermont police actually received an anonymous tip saying that Brianna was alive and that she was being held captive. They said that she was being kept in a house in Berkshire, Vermont, which was occupied by 2 known drug dealers by the names of Raymond Ryans and Nathaniel Jackson. The house was raided, but Brianna was not found, although they did find like drug paraphernalia and drugs, cocaine, and marijuana in the house. So Raymond was actually arrested on drug charges. Police also found out soon after this from Brianna's close friends that she was involved in drugs, in particular cocaine, and she did know Raymond and Nathaniel. But besides this, there were no new leads until 2006, where there was a possible sighting of Brianna. So 2 years after her disappearance, police received a tip that Brianna had been spotted in the Caesars Palace Casino in Atlantic City. Upon further inspection, police found out that there was footage of this girl from the security cameras at the casino. Brianna's parents said that it did look like her, but the footage was just way too grainy for them to be able to tell for sure, unfortunately. The police also apparently have DNA evidence that they found from the car, but they won't say what it is, whether it's blood or tissue, and they won't say whether it was a recent find or whether they found it back in 2004. They literally haven't said anything about this DNA, just that they have DNA evidence. Okay, so that is all of the information. Now let's go ahead and get into some theories. So the first theory, which is the first assumption that the police made, is that Brianna actually left of her own accord. Now, while this is a possibility, I would definitely say that this is unlikely. If she left, why would she leave a note saying that she was going to be back that night for her roommate? Why would she leave $150 in uncashed checks in her car? That seems like something, if you were running away, that you would possibly need. Why would she leave her medication? Why would she tell her mom that same day that she wanted to further her education and enroll in college? It makes no sense. Nothing makes any sense, and nothing points to the fact that she was going to run away. It seemed like she made plans for the future. It seems like she was making plans for the future and wanted to brighten her future, which, why would you do if you were planning on running away? Brianna also did mention some things occasionally, like her surroundings in the place that she was at made her unhappy. They were too rural and she wanted to get out of there, and she had also run away before. But despite these things, I don't think that this is the likely outcome, but thought I would mention it anyway as it is a possibility. The next theory, which I'm sure you guys were all thinking of when I mentioned her affiliation with the 2 known drug dealers, is that this was a drug-related crime. So drugs were or are very common in that area, but I mean, every time I say that, all I can think is drugs are very common everywhere in the world, I'm pretty sure. But Brianna, as her close friends had mentioned, was involved in drugs, in particular crack cocaine. And she was also involved with these two known drug dealers, Raymond and Nathaniels. Katie Manning, who was a close friend of Brianna, told police that she thought Brianna may have owed someone money, and she thinks that this could have been related to drugs. And this makes sense considering Brianna's new job that she had her shift at just before she disappeared at the Black Lantern Inn. She had only recently started that job. I think she had had it for about 2 weeks, and it would make sense that she picked up a second job, maybe to help pay off her debt that she might have had. It is possible that this person or these people who she owed money to were following her and trying to intimidate her because of the money that she owed them, and maybe this is why she was so shaken by what she saw when she was at the mall, why she left, and then she came back and she was just agitated with her mother. It's possible that these people who were trying to intimidate her were actually Raymond and Nathaniel, and on top of that, it is more than likely that it was people, plural, not just one person, because her parents said she was extremely trained in jiu-jitsu, so it would have to have been two people because she would have been able to fight off one person who was trying to attack her. So there are a few possibilities in this theory. One is that her attackers were already waiting in her car for her while she was at work, and then when she started driving, they kind of got up and directed her where to go and scared her. They could have also been waiting in a separate car, so when she left, then they started following her. They could have also known the route that she took home because she did often take that route home, and if they knew her, maybe they knew that she took that route. It's also possible that she had a planned meeting with these people at the Dutch Burn house. So maybe she was actually on her way to the Dutch Burn house on purpose to meet with whoever was intimidating her or who made the attack on her. So considering she knew Raymond and Nathaniel, maybe it's possible they knew that she took that route home, or maybe it's possible she was meeting them at this Dutch Burn house because she knew them. In late 2004, police received a tip from an older woman, a letter from her that said that Raymond and Nathaniel actually did this. The anonymous letter went into great detail. She said that Brianna had been dismembered with a table saw and that she had been discarded in a pig farm, but this could not be corroborated by police. But considering Brianna had been linked to these guys by a few different people, I would definitely say that it's a possibility. Maybe she even went to the barn to meet them, like I said before, but when she got there, she just wasn't feeling the right vibes, or she just knew something shady was going on or something was about to happen, so she tried to leave in a hurry, and that's why she accidentally backed into the Dutch Burn house. And then, as I said, her car was kind of like up on the foundations, so maybe she wasn't able to get out of the position that she was in, which is how they got to her. So she realized it was bad, and then everything just happened in a sort of like panic. The only opposing facts really to this theory is that when police were investigating into all the claims that had been made about Brianna, which is that she had overdoses and that she was partying and doing drugs, is that like when they were looking into them, they realized, or they assumed, or they gathered that all of the stories were exaggerations. All of her drug stories and stuff like that were exaggerations, and her parents and the police also said that they didn't believe that this theory was true. But the only thing that I could find which would indicate that it wasn't true is that the stories were exaggerations. So the next theory is that Kaylee, the girl that she had had a fight with 3 weeks prior to her disappearance, had something to do with it. This could also explain her strange behavior when she was at the mall with her mother, and why she came back agitated if she did go out and see that Kaylee was there. But no one knows what the two girls fought about, so it's difficult to assume anything. I read a theory online that said it's possible that Kaylee and Brianna's ex-boyfriend, the one who came forward saying that he had seen the car, actually had a fling, and that's what the fight was about, and that is what Brianna's disappearance is about, and maybe that is why her boyfriend actually came forward as a witness, her ex-boyfriend came forward as a witness, was because he knew what Kaylee had done and maybe he was trying to fabricate some kind of story to the police or trying to cover something up. Kaylee was questioned by the police, but she was cleared, and there is no information on her ex-boyfriend for some reason. So I don't know, it's just something to think about, even though there's really no information on these people at all for some reason. No matter how much I looked into them, I could not find anything. Now the last theory is that this was actually linked to another disappearance that occurred in Massachusetts. So if you guys have ever heard of the disappearance of Maura Murray, she actually disappeared. The two disappearances occurred within 90 miles of each other, and the circumstances are really, really similar. It was deemed unlikely, but because I just found this really interesting, an interesting theory to think about, and the disappearance itself of Maura Murray is also very interesting and very, very strange. So I thought I would throw it in there for just something to think about. But that is everything. That is all there is to this case. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. I would love to hear in the comments down below what you guys think of this case, any theories you may have that I didn't mention, any information you may have that I didn't mention. I would love for you to leave all of that in the comments down below. I absolutely love talking to you guys about these cases and what you think of them. As always, if you did enjoy Mystery Mondays, please give this video a thumbs up for me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!